Hey, my Renaissance men and women, welcome back to the channel. Great to have you all back here. Today's video is going to be about killing Bigfoot. Okay, so Sasquatch hunting. What if it was legalized in Canada? As avid gun lovers and hunters based in the Great White North, we are constantly looking for new opportunities to get outdoors and enjoy nature. Sasquatch hunting is one unique activity that presents some tantalizing possibilities, but also raises a few eyebrows. Let's pause and consider what might happen if Sasquatch hunting was legal in Canada. Sasquatches or Bigfoots have been a source of fascination for centuries. And even though every biologist doubts their existence, except for the odd cryptozoologists on the History Channel, some people swear they've seen them. This article that we're going to go over today explores this idea and looks at the potential implications, regulations, and pros and cons of Sasquatch hunting. Let's dive into this. How did the legend start? Here's a cool postage stamp from, this is the Canadian postage stamp from 1990. The earliest mentions of Sasquatch come from legends told by the First Nations of Canada's Pacific Northwest. They tell stories of a mysterious ape-like creature that lives deep in the forests and the mountains. These creatures are said to be incredibly strong and able to move quickly through the dense woods without making a sound. While these tales may seem like fantasy, they have continued to fuel speculation about the existence of an unknown species in Canada. The first recorded sighting of Bigfoot in Canada dates back to the late 1800s. Let me stop right there. That's probably going to be the first recorded sighting by a white man, I would gather, back in the fur trade. Just wanted to clarify that the 1800s is certainly not the first recorded sighting of Bigfoot or Sasquatch in Canada. When the fur traders reported seeing an ape-like creature near what is now British Columbia, the fur traders noted that the creature was covered with long hair and had an odor like a skunk or a bear. This sighting sparked interest in finding the mysterious beast, and soon more sightings were reported from across Canada. Here's the still frame from the Patron Gimlin film that we all know so well. In 1967, the now ironic film footage taken by Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin shows an upright female Sasquatch walking in Northern California, leading many people to believe that these creatures could exist beyond folklore. This led to an increase in sightings not just in Canada but around the world. Many sightings have been reported throughout North America, leading some to believe that there are multiple species of Bigfoot. With the environment at the top of public's minds these days, the first thing we would consider if Canada legalized Sasquatch hunting is the potential environmental implications. Sightings of Sasquatches have been reported in numerous locations across Canada. The one common factor all of these locations have in common, that they are all remote areas of the wilderness. If an influx of Sasquatch sightings suddenly drew swarms of hunters and curious people into the remote areas, would it have an environmental impact? It's possible. With no infrastructure and increased human traffic, these sensitive remote habitats could easily be disrupted and destroyed. The simple solution could limit the number of hunters allowed to be hunting in these areas to prevent habitat loss and create minimal disruption. However, this wouldn't stop the Sasquatch seeking general public from searching for the animal and increasing human traffic even more. Here's a cool little cartoon by Tom from Media News Group Creators Syndicate. Sasquatches have been described as being shy and reclusive creatures to the point that they are never seen. Due to this behavior, it is essential to consider how they might react when come face to face with people searching for them. Putting hunting pressure on these species could stress them, causing malnutrition and perhaps the inability to carry offspring. Now we're going to go over the rule, regulations, and the ethics of Sasquatch hunting. Other issues related to Sasquatch hunting involve ethical considerations. For example, it is unclear whether Sasquatches could even be legally hunted, as they are not considered a species under Canadian law. This is because there's no scientific evidence proving that they exist. Does this mean that Sasquatch hunters would be subject to the same regulations? It's hard to say. Like any big game hunting in Canada, licensing and permits requirements would need to be implemented to minimize the potential impacts of Sasquatch hunting. Potential regulations are hard to determine because of our limited knowledge of the creature. With unknowns like their breeding season or how long they live, most of the rules would be a shot in the dark at the beginning. Additionally, size and bag limits on Sasquatches hunted would need to be put into place to preserve the species. A potential political roadblock to Sasquatch hunting is who would have jurisdiction. Would this fall under federal, provincial, and municipal governments? Currently, the provinces manage most of their hunting regulations except for federally regulated migratory birds. This would have to be one of the things to decide if Sasquatch hunting was legalized in Canada. Okay, what would be allowed if Sasquatch hunting was actually a real thing? The rules and regulations surrounding the hunt would have to be determined by the government before any hunting could begin. For example, would hunters be allowed to use firearms and bows? Could hunters use traps or only pursue free-roaming animals? Would there be limits on bag size or sex of hunted animals? These questions would all need to be answered before any hunting season can begin. The pros of Sasquatch hunting. A big benefit of Sasquatch hunting includes the potential for Sasquatches to become identified species in Canada, which could bring about greater public awareness, potentially leading to more scientific research into their behavior, biology, culture, etc. There is also potential economic impact for opening a Sasquatch hunting season in Canada. Hunters from all over the world would flock to Canada in hopes to get a chance to hunt one of these legendary creatures. The influx of tourism could boost local economies, especially those in remote regions where Sasquatches are said to roam. Then there are the commercial benefits. Think about it. If Sasquatch hunting officially becomes popular, companies may produce specialized hunting gear for tracking, calling, and processing them. Additionally, there would be some good-looking custom Sasquatch hunting builds on your Instagram and YouTube. The cons of hunting Sasquatch. On the other hand, some have argued that opening up Sasquatch hunting would be irresponsible due to the animal's possible status as an endangered species. However, after all, how many Sasquatches are out there in the world? We don't know. Even if a substantial population lived in Canada's forest, allowing people to hunt them runs a risk of decimating their numbers in a short period of time. Furthermore, Sasquatches may not even exist. So encourage people to pursue something that may be a myth is a bit problematic too. Here's the final thoughts. In conclusion, Sasquatch hunting in Canada would have both positive and negative implications. On the other hand, it could provide an additional source of income for government and hunting industry, increase public awareness, produce valuable scientific research, and even establish Sasquatches as a recognized and potentially endangered species in Canada. On the other hand, Sasquatch hunting also brings a host of ethical considerations and potential environmental impacts, such as like hunting every other species in Canada. There must be regulations to ensure Sasquatch hunters adhere to strict safety guidelines and ethical hunting practices to keep the species and environment thriving. What do you guys think out there? Should Canada make Sasquatch hunting legal? Leave your comments below. Just so you guys are aware, I do not agree with any of this. This is an article I found at canadasgunstore.com. If you want to check it out, hit up their link. We'll leave the link to their website in the description. So here's the thing, folks. They don't want to acknowledge Sasquatch and Bigfoot and Sabe, whatever. But here's the thing. In British Columbia, you can't kill a Sasquatch. This one might be a myth, but legend has it that it was illegal in British Columbia to kill Sasquatch. A report from Nanaimo in the late 1800s says a man's request to shoot a wild man of Home Lake was denied because it is unlawful to shoot mogils, M-O-W-G-L-I-S. It's probably a First Nations word, and it's an early name for Sasquatch. Sasquatch in BC law. To date, the librarians at the courthouse library have not been able to find any reference to Sasquatch or Sasquatches or the creature by any other name in any BC statute. However, we have discovered that the myth may have originated in Nanaimo at the turn of the 20th century. The Best of Sasquatch Bigfoot by John Green, a 90-page book, which we'll leave the link in the description, contains an article originally printed in The Colonist. The article quotes a letter where the writer is asking the government agent at the time, Marshall Bray, for permission to shoot the Wildman of Horn Lake. So the other article I read, I think they mispronounced the lake to Home Lake, so we'll have to figure that out if it's Home Lake or Horn Lake. And that's going to be on Vancouver Island. So we'll have to do a little more research on the Wildman of Horn Lake. I'm going to say it's Horn Lake. The article then states Bray has informed that it is unlawful to shoot mogilies. Sorry, I can't pronounce that properly. Again, that's that same word. That is another early name for Sasquatch, probably from the indigenous of that area. And it is unlawful to shoot them within the province of British Columbia at any time. Despite what the article says, it is unclear what Bray's actual written response to this letter was, and to which law he might have been referring to. If anyone wants to research this further, they may want to look to see if there's a written copy of Bray's response that exists. Marshall Bray was appointed as the government agent and sheriff in Nanaimo in 1880. He also served as Gold Commissioner, Assistant Commissioner of Lands, and worked for the District Police and Register of births, deaths, and marriages for the courts. So he was a very popular man. There's got to be a ton of documents on this guy. So that's Marshall Bray in Nanaimo, British Columbia in 1880. If you guys want to do a little digging yourself on this Marshall Bray character, that would be great. And maybe we'll do another video on him and this whole letter about not being able to hunt the Sasquatches. He was also the director of the Nanaimo Telephone Company, the Nanaimo Community Archives, and the BC Archives have collected material on Marshall Bray. So that's all the rules and stuff we have here in Canada. I'm actually not sure if it is written in stone if you cannot hunt a Sasquatch in BC or not. If I recall, we're going to move on to the States here. I'm pretty sure it's actually written in government documents that in Texas you can actually receive $1 million fine if you kill a Sasquatch. And here's a bit more on the United States and what their rules are on hunting and killing Bigfoot. However, there is a law against killing Sasquatch, also known as Yeti Bigfoot or the hairy giant apes, in Washington State. On April 1st, 1969, the Board of Commissioners of Sasquamania County, Skamania County, Washington State, adopted Ordinance for Protection of Sasquatch/Bigfoot Creatures. Although it sounds like an April Fool's Day joke, it was an official ordinance. It was published in the local weekly newspaper of that county that I can't pronounce on April 4th and April 11th, 1969. Because people did not take it seriously, the newspaper publishers had the article notarized on April 12th, 1969, and printed both the ordinance and in an affidavit of publication in the paper edition. The ordinance had been repealed and amended since, and the revised ordinance went into effect on April 1st, 1984. It's the year I was born. The amended law also declared the animal as an endangered species and created a Sasquatch refuge. Sasquatch refuge, me and Sasquatch Randy talked about this a bit. An ordinance list and disposition table can be found online. Nearby in Whatcom County, a resolution was adopted that also declares the county of Sasquatch protection and refuge area. Resolution went into effect June 1992. A resolution list and disposition table can be found online. The purpose behind these laws was actually to protect the safety and well-being of persons living or traveling in these areas when Sasquatch is sighted, as many well-armed scientific investigators and casual hunters show up to take specimens. Very interesting stuff. So yeah, there's quite a few laws in Washington against hunting Sasquatch. If you guys know any other states, provinces in Canada or anywhere else on the planet where you're from, if you guys have any laws set in stone that it is illegal to hunt Sasquatch, I would love to hear about that and let me know in the comments. That's about it for this video, folks. And I gotta say, I do not agree with hunting Sasquatch. These things are a type of human, so for me, that would be murder. And just another thing here, remember that date that they mentioned here? On April 1969, that's when that law about hunting Sasquatch, making it illegal. And then let's go back to the Patterson-Gimlin film, folks. When was that filmed? 1967. 2 years later, in Washington, it became illegal to hunt Sasquatch. Just to keep that in the back of your minds, folks. We have a video coming up real soon. We're going to post the trailer again. And it's going to be the truth behind the Patterson-Gimlin footage. Cheers for now.